there be no kind of peace like you beside me. No matter the rain, no matter the storm, I'm coming home.
Hello guys, good morning. It's a beautiful day out today. It's actually a little chilly. To take advantage of this cooler weather, decided to work outside a little bit today, and I'll walk over there and show you what it is that I'm doing. It's gonna be really labor intensive. It's something that I've already done once, and now I've gotta do it again. Basically, I have been working for a long time trying to narrow down the exterior materials that we're gonna be using on this house. There's so many options as far as siding goes. It seems like there are countless options when it comes to materials for the outside of your house. And so it's been really complicated for me to narrow it down, trying to keep things in budget, trying to get the look that I'm going for, because I have this idea in my head, this aesthetic that isn't super common in this area. So I haven't really seen this design style a lot in real life, and I've got all these different pins on my Pinterest board of things that I like, and I'm finding that just the littlest tweaks can make a really big difference on the exterior of a home, like adding corbels or pediments over windows. All those decisions, like choosing the width of the trim, the style of the trim, and all of that. We've been getting all kinds of quotes, and one of the things that I've said from the very beginning is I wanted to do something extra special on the little jet out on the center of the house. It's got 3 windows that are symmetrical and then 1 little window in the peak. And I wanted to do something different, something contrasting on that. And my first choice, of course, was stone. We have limestone pillars on the pavilion that Aaron and I did ourselves. That was the first time we ever did any real masonry work, and it was a lot of work. And even though it's really labor intensive, both of us really love the look of the stone. It looks old, it looks like it belongs here. You know, you can tell that it's real stone and it's not like a fake stone look-alike. It just looks really pretty in real life. All the different variations in color and all of that. So I had ordered some samples and I found one that I really loved that looked very close to the pillars on the pavilion. And I was this close to ordering it, you guys. I was so close to ordering it. And then Aaron and I were just having a discussion and we were running through the options for all the different siding quotes. And Aaron brought something up to me that I had thought of a long time ago, but I didn't dare even ask him because I knew it would add a ton of extra labor on our part, on his part. So I didn't even go there. But he brought up the fact that we have 3 full pallets left over of this limestone that we used on the pavilion, and he said, why don't I just pour a brick ledge? We haven't backfilled in that area yet. I could still pour a brick ledge. I could, you know, put a footer in. We could build it up with masonry block, and why don't we just use our same stone, the real limestone, the full stones, to put on that center section of the house. Of course, when he said that, I lit up. I couldn't even believe he was mentioning it because it's just gonna mean a lot more work. Some of those stones are so heavy that I need both hands and all of my might to lift them. And then some of them are smaller. It's gonna mean a lot more labor for us, and it's gonna take a little bit longer. But that's what we've decided to do. It's gonna save us close to $10,000. So you guys, I'm so happy about that. That would have been my first choice. I just didn't have the heart to ask him to do more work on top of all of the work that we've been doing for the last 1.5 years. And we still have a long way to go. So I'm glad that he brought it up and he's on board with using the stone that we have. It's a lot larger, so it's gonna fit a lot better the scale of the front of the house. And it is the same stone, so it's the same color. We don't have to worry about it being a little bit too warm. That other stone that I was looking at definitely was a little warmer, and the limestone that we have isn't quite that warm, so we're pretty excited. Here is the stone. What I ended up doing is taking all of the stone off of the 3 pallets that we had, because we had 3 different sizes. So you can see that I laid them out in rows. Not at all how I would install it on the house. We wouldn't be stacking it this way. I just laid it out so I could get a rough estimate of how much stone I had of each size. So these are 4 inches, these are 2 inches, and then 6 inches. And all of the 4, 2, and 6 inches are different lengths, so it's very staggering. Some of the stones you can see are just huge. Like, here's my hand. This one down here is probably one of the longest. You can see, here's my hand. That's how long that stone is. So like I said before, these are the same stones that are on the pillars on the pavilion here behind me and also on the hearth. And we had 3 huge pallets left over of this stone from when we ordered it before. So the reason why I have this all laid out is because we weren't sure exactly how much stone we had already used. We knew how much we ordered, but we really didn't know how much we ended up using on the pavilion. And so I just decided I'm just, take some time and I'm gonna lay it all out, get some measurements and see how much we really have and how much more we would need to order to finish the house. And we had a lot more stone than I realized. And why I decided to come out here this morning is because now that I've measured all of this and I have everything figured out, I've got to put it back on the pallet. The pavilion's pretty far from the house and we're gonna use the fork on the tractor to drive these on the pallets over to the house. I would not want to move these all over there. It would be a lot easier just to stack them on the pallet and then drive them over. So that's what I'm gonna do today. That's why I am so glad that it's kind of a cooler day. Let's get to work. We are gonna be working down in the basement, building the temporary wall to hold up the center, like just for extra support under the decking on the porch. That way we have that temporary wall there for support when we pour the concrete. So we're gonna be prepping again this weekend for concrete. Hopefully we can pour concrete next weekend. And I didn't film this part of the process, but you can see that this bead decking does have little holes in it, and typically you would buy the bead decking without the holes because the concrete would just seep right through. But what we decided to do was to buy this because it was a lot less expensive, and we just used some really strong Gorilla Tape to cover up all of those little tiny holes. That way none of the concrete seeped through before it was cured. Good morning, guys. Happy Saturday. We are back outside working on the house. Well, I'm inside now. I stepped out of the sun to get in the shade. I wanted to quickly recap what we're working on. We are trying to finish up getting everything ready for our last concrete pour. Everything is pretty much exterior concrete except for the garage floor. We've got to pour that. So today, Aaron and I are both out here working. He's working on getting the electrical sleeves in the garage floor. He's got, I think, 3 more to put in, and then we'll cover that up, make sure the sand is really compacted in those areas. And then we're also gonna be working out on the porch. We've got the angle iron up, we've got the bead decking on top of it. I'm gonna be working on spray foaming gaps and cracks into the ribbed areas in the bead decking so no concrete seeps through that. We've also decided to put some primer and paint on the angle iron just to keep it from rusting in case it ever gets moist at all. We're taking a lot of precautions to make sure it doesn't rust and no moisture gets down in the cold storage area, but you just never know. So we'd rather be safe than sorry. So we're gonna put a coating on that. Once the sun goes over the house a little bit and that whole porch area is in the shade, then we're gonna start cutting and laying all of the rebar. We've got chairs to set them on. The concrete slab on the porch is gonna be 8 inches thick, so those chairs will help keep the rebar in the center of the concrete. That way they don't float up or down, and we're gonna lay them horizontally and vertically, and then just use little wires to tie them together. So once we get all of that in, we will be ready for our concrete pour, which we've got scheduled this coming week. So here you can see I'm just spraying a little bit underneath all of this bead decking so I can make sure that none of that concrete seeps underneath there and down into our cold storage. This is the outer edge. You can see where we have it all framed up for our 8 inches of concrete. I also had to go in and spray that gaps and cracks in all of the edge touching the house. Once all of that was done, you can see we moved on to installing all the rebar. First, we set out chairs to keep the rebar centered in our 8-inch slab. And then we set the rebar horizontally and vertically all along all sides of the porch. And then I use those ties just to keep all of the cross sections together. morning, guys. I am out in the garage wrapping up a couple of things we need to get done before our concrete pour. Today is Thursday. We have our pour scheduled for 8 a.m. on Saturday. Last night, Aaron and I came out here and laid all of this mesh down. This is the garage floor. We got everything laid down, but we didn't get it all tied together. So I'm gonna be working on getting everything tied together. I've also gotta cut out the little area around the floor drains in the garage with the angle grinder. And then later when Aaron gets home, the last thing we have to do is chalk some lines around the perimeter and we'll be good to go. Some friends of ours from Sprik Concrete, they are excellent. We've used them a couple of times as concrete finishers and they are the best. So they're coming out to help with this, to make sure we get it perfect. Aaron and I are not great. Like, we've done sidewalks and things, but we just don't feel comfortable tackling something like that ourselves. We'd rather leave it to these guys. They do great work. So anyway, we should be good. We're gonna have lots of hands on deck. So even though it's summer and it's warm out, I'm still gonna wear long sleeves and gloves to cover my arms. I've gotta use the angle grinder and that thing really shoots sparks. So I like to make sure all my skin is covered just in case. Good morning, guys. As you can probably tell, as you can probably hear, the concrete truck is here. The guys are here, my brother-in-law, and a couple of the guys from Sprik Concrete are here, and they're gonna help us get this entire porch poured and finished, and that'll finally wrap up everything that we've got to do as far as concrete is concerned. The weather's holding out. It did rain a little bit this morning, but it's cleared up. It looks like it's gonna be perfect weather for pouring, about 75 degrees and sunny. They have about, I don't know, maybe 10 feet of the porch poured already, and they're just working on screeding that out. I'm gonna walk down to the basement and go in the cold storage area and kind of check out and see if our waterproofing is holding and see if we did a good job sealing that up. Okay, so this looks pretty good. You can see our temporary wall here in the middle, but you can see where it's dark. That's where they poured the concrete. And then if I walk down here, you can see daylight because we've got holes that are covered with duct tape in this V decking. And you can see up here, I don't know if you can tell, let's see if I can get it to focus. So we didn't rent a pump truck this time to reach the far corner of the porch. Instead, the guys at Sprik are letting us use their buggy. So basically they fill it full of concrete and then they can just drive it around and dump it. So they're moving all of the concrete to the west side of the porch that way. Right here you can see my brother-in-law. He's driving that little buggy and getting all the concrete you know, moved over to the other side. Right here, our son is just filling up a couple of areas where our windowsills on the upper windows were a little low from our ICF pour. And here you can see Aaron and a couple guys from Sprik Concrete and my brother helping out, just getting all of that concrete in on the north side of the porch. And then this right here, this is exactly why we asked a couple of the guys from Sprik Concrete Construction to come and give us a hand on the finish work. This is something that Aaron and I are not experts at by any means. Just doing the floating alone is something that takes a lot of skill and a lot of talent. And Aaron and I, we just haven't had that much practice with it. So these guys are great. They always do a phenomenal job, and we're very happy that they came out and gave us a hand. It's next morning and I'm heading out here to check out the concrete. We had planned on cutting this last night, but it wasn't ready yet. So we're out here really early and we're gonna get all the cuts done. We've got to take some measurements of this porch and chalk some lines. We're thinking that we're gonna cut it where the posts sit to hold up the roof. So that's what we're thinking, but first we're gonna look at the blueprints and come up with a plan. First time walking on our porch. This feels pretty cool. So this is facing north. This view over here is facing west. And then as it wraps around the house this way, we did not continue the wraparound porch on a third side because we have a plan for this side in the future that involves a lot of landscaping and possibly a sunroom / greenhouse, glass house attached on the back side of this house here. So when we designed that, we had that in mind that we might at some point add something on the back end of this. That's why we decided just not to continue the wraparound porch on the back side here, and we didn't want to have to demo anything in a few years if we ever do add a little glass sunroom on the back side of this house. I'm gonna put the camera down and get to work. The concrete is all cut. It's actually been a few days. It's been over a week since we cut this concrete. We decided to let it sit for a while. The sealer that we were using, you had to wait, I think it was like a week before sealing the concrete. So Aaron and I came out here one night when it was fairly quiet and still not too windy, and we were able to clean this concrete really, really well. It was kind of dirty just from the sand, from walking on it, but also from, you know, cutting all of our seams here. There were actually a couple of spots where the dew had dripped off the roof and something came with it, like dirt or something, and we had like 3 different areas where it was a little stained already. And so I got a bucket of water and a scrub brush, and I just kind of scrubbed those areas to try and get them as clean as I could before we sealed it. While I was over there on the porch scrubbing those areas that night, Aaron came into the garage and he got this all sealed and all of our exterior pads, the approach on the garage, and then the next morning, those areas where I had scrubbed on the porch was dry. Aaron came out here and sealed all of that. So everything is all sealed with 2 coats of sealer, which makes me so, so happy. We've been working on this house for 2 full years now, and we've been working in the sand. There's just sand everywhere. Every time we go in and out of the house, we're tracking sand with us. If it rains, it's more like mud, and it's just been such a mess, and it's just been really hard to keep the sand out of the house and out of our tools and out of our eyes. And you know, I wear safety glasses out here all the time, even when I'm not working with power tools, because the sand will blow in my eyes if I don't. So now that we've got this concrete poured, it's going to be so much easier to keep all of our tools and everything clean when we're working out here, which feels incredible. I just stepped inside the house. I'm gonna walk you around the corner down to the other side of the house and show you the front porch. But while we're walking down there, I wanna tell you guys something. So Aaron and I were out here working. I think we were sealing the concrete, and I said to him, we've really poured a lot of concrete. I wonder how much concrete we've actually poured. And since he's an engineer and he's a numbers guy, he calculates all the different orders that we've made over the last 2 years. And he said, Dina, we've poured 1 million pounds. Said it was right there, just under 1 million pounds at like 900 and something thousand, which is insane, but also kind of incredible. Now, after we've poured 1 million pounds of concrete, this house isn't going anywhere. It's not gonna blow over. We have a firm foundation, 1 million pounds of concrete.
Thanks for following along in today's video. Make sure to hit subscribe so you can continue following along with our DIY dream home self-build project.